Now, when you look at the Queen and Hollywood stories, you often think about the people that she's met over the years and think, wow, that must have been exciting for them. You know, remember, they've really had to push and try and attain that fame that they were desperate to get, you know. Whether it be even the Kennedys, if you think about it, they looked totally in awe, did they not, when they were meeting Her Majesty the Queen and, of course, the Duke of Edinburgh over here in London. Of course, Jackie, as we know, had covered the coronation as a reporter, never dreaming, of course, one day she would be sitting down for a state banquet. Incredible when you think. Now, this particular story came to me from an excellent chum, sadly no longer with us, but a brilliant comedian, a much-loved stage and film entertainer, Sir Norman Wisdom. Knew him for years, just a terrific guy, and during the 1950s, his movies, including into the 60s, outperformed James Bond at the box office. We loved him. He was a lovable clown. He was our very own pre-Benny Hill, if you like, and of course, he was sort of Charlie Chaplin. He was everything in between. Not only was he a great actor, comedian, he was also a songwriter and singer, and literally could pack theatres out. I got to know him over many years and he told me so many wonderful stories, including this one. You see, Joan Crawford, as we know, was the Queen of Hollywood. And as he pointed out to me, they were both filming at Pinewood Studios, literally in the 1950s. And he said he was still in awe of these people because these were the people, of course. Norman was young then, where he'd gone to see them at the cinema when he was a boy. So yes, when they came along the corridor inside Pinewood, he too would peep out of his door and, you know, and he got to meet Joan on a number of occasions. And he said she was a lovely lady, but at points terrifying. He said because she kind of wanted her own way, knew what she wanted, and was very, very clear about that. One of the things, though, that she was very excited to do, was no doubt alongside Sir Norman, was to meet Her Majesty the Queen. She couldn't believe it when she got an invitation to the Royal Film Command performance. And there were going to be many great stars there, including a plethora of British stars like Jack Hawkins and Kenneth More. Now, one person, according to Norman, that she wasn't over keen on having to share the spotlight with was the European sex bomb, that was Anita Ekberg. And of course, you know, a wonderful, stunning lady. And if you're of Joan's age, you can understand, perhaps she didn't necessarily need to be standing in the lineup. But as Norman pointed out, Joan did belie her years. He said she did look terrific, including in the flesh. You know, he said she was one of those people that took great care of herself and always dressed like an amazing movie star. That's what truly impressed him. However, things took a turn for the worst at this Royal Film Command performance, because even though she'd been assured that this particular lady wasn't going to attend, at the last minute she found that she could. We're talking, of course, about the international icon that was Marilyn Monroe. And Marilyn Monroe's only meeting with Her Majesty the Queen happened on the 30th of October 1956, while she was over here filming at Pinewood Studios, The Prince and the Showgirl, alongside Laurence Olivier. Joan wasn't too thrilled about that. You see, the bottom line was this, according to Norman, you see, Joan thought that this meeting with the Queen would be great publicity for her film that she was making. And not only that, she thought this was going to put her on the front pages over in Hollywood. You know, the Queen of Hollywood meets the Queen of England. She didn't really fathom on Anita Ekberg, as I said, because she was seen as more of a European film star, and Joan was true Hollywood royalty, meeting true British royalty. Now, Norman had tea with Joan on a number of occasions, and apparently she seethed literally at the idea that Marilyn Monroe not only turned up to meet Her Majesty the Queen, but in fact it was the dress that she wore. She felt it was unbecoming and not respectful enough. Now, as you can see, for Marilyn, this was her image, and apparently, you know, everybody agreed it would be appropriate, that sort of stuff. But Marilyn knew, of course, that she was going to grab all the headlines. Joan was further down the line and also met Princess Margaret, but literally had to do so through gritted teeth, simply knowing that, well, it's going to take a lot more to push Marilyn off the front pages. Her team advised her not to attack Marilyn simply because she was so popular, not just here in Britain, but obviously around the world. But according to Sir Norman Wisdom, she's still in the latter parts of her career, when they re-met again while she was over here in England, making, I believe, one of her final films called Circus or something like that, Berserk, in 1967, with another British sex symbol, Diana Dawes, that she still hadn't quite forgiven Marilyn, even though sadly she departed a few years earlier. And it just goes goes to show us Norman was a terrible giggler and a lot of fun stories. He said he couldn't really understand it because both ladies were totally individual, both got a lot of press, and both were, well, honoured enough to have met Her Majesty the Queen. Norman, many years later, did meet the Queen again when she made him a Sir. And as he pointed out to me, he couldn't resist tripping up along the way in his trademark way, which made the Queen giggle. Now I wonder if she knew what was going on behind the scenes with these Hollywood divas. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.